Hello, I'm Cheryl and welcome to my sewing room. I hope my videos on making table runners have been helpful to you. Now, if you have not watched my video on how to make a table runner, watch it first to get complete instructions on how to assemble one. I'm going to demonstrate how to sew a beaded fringe onto the ends of a table runner. Now, beaded fringe will give your table runner a much more luxurious look. You will need to use a different pressure foot on your sewing machine. Now, there are a variety of types available, so you're going to want to refer to your sewing machine user's manual to see what type will work with your machine. Now, here is what I use on my machine. I have a Husqvarna Designer Ruby. That's a Viking machine. This foot here is a B foot, B as in boy. I use this foot on many of my sewing projects. It's a fairly standard foot. Over here, I have a Mega piping foot, and this was also made for the Viking sewing machine. You will notice that the width of this this pressure foot is narrower than this pressure foot. What they've done is they've cut this far right piece of the foot off so that you can get up real close to difficult objects when you're sewing around them. One of the options that I have on my sewing foot is that I can move my needle from the center to the far right or to the left. So when you're working with this piping foot, you're going to want to move your needle to the right so you can get really close to your objects. This is a multi-purpose foot. Not only is it used for piping, and of course I use it for sewing on beads or beaded fringe, but I also use it to sew on a zipper. So it is a great foot. I use it a lot. All right. After you have cut out your fabric, and in my video how to make a table runner, I explain how to measure and cut your fabric. This blue fabric is my top fabric, and on the bottom of it I have adhered my fusible webbing. You're going to lay your top fabric face up and then put your bottom fabric over that. Then you're going to pin the lengthwise of your runner. That's the longest way. Pin it all the way down. Leave your ends open. We're not going to sew on those just yet. Then go to your sewing machine, and you're going to go in a 1/2 inch from this raw edge here and sew a line of stitches. And then you're going to do the same on this side. Go in 1/2 inch and sew a single line of stitches. All right, the next step is you're going to go to each corner of your runner and finger press open your seam about 1 inch to 1.5 inches. Do that on all 4 corners. Then you're going to fold it over like that, about 1/2 inch, and then go to your ironing board and press both ends. Press this down. Then you're going to want to reach inside and turn it right side out, like I've done here. Okay, I have already started to sew the beaded fringe in, and you want to first put your first bead about 1/2 inch away from the outer edge over here. This is so that when you go to do your top stitching later on, your pressure foot will be able to get all the way down. Now, when you're working with any fringe, I don't want to forget to tell you this, you will need to put on clear tape at the ends because it will unravel, and once the beaded fringe begins to unravel, it will not ever be the same. You won't be able to get the beads on. Beaded fringe is very expensive, so be cautious when working with it. Put that clear tape on. So I've already started pinning, and I'm going to show you the pinning process that I use. Okay, you're going to lift up your top fabric, and all I do is I just kind of stab the ribbon portion and lift it up and push it in, and then I press it down to make sure the beads are all the way out, because there's some really tiny little beads on this fringe, and then pin it. And I'll show you again. Just stab the ribbon a little bit, lift it up, push it in there, and then kind of press those beads out so that they're showing all of them, and pin. You want to use a lot of pins because you really want this fringe to stay nice and straight. Do that process all the way down, and when you get down here, you're going to cut your fringe to where your last bead will show up right about here. Put a piece of clear tape on it. It's really important. And also, I forgot one little step. When you're working with this pressure foot, make sure you're going to move that needle to the right. So go to your sewing machine, move your needle to the right, and begin to sew a line of stitches all the way down, keeping this pressure foot as close to the end as possible, or to the edge. Okay, then your next step will be is that you're going to pin your outer edges on both sides, and I showed that process to you. There's a specific method that you go to on pinning these sides. Then you want to go to your ironing board, and you're going to start in the center of your runner, like I did in my video how to make a table runner, and press from the center out towards your edges. Okay, there's just one more step. We're going to do our final top stitching, and you will notice that I have a darker thread, and that's just for this demonstration so that you can see where I have stitched. Now you're going to do your final top stitching. You're going to go in 1/8 of an inch from this outer edge and do a single line of stitches, and then over here same thing, go in 1/8 of an inch, single line of stitches. Go the full lengthwise of your runner. Well, that's how you sew a beaded fringe into a table runner. I'm just going to show you one that I have made for myself or for my family. Is that every summer my husband and I go to a beachside community, and we spend the summer there, and I wanted to make a table runner that kind of reflected that ocean coastal feel. So I selected this fabric that has a lot of the blues and greens that you see in the ocean. It also has kind of a wavy effect to it, and I put in that blue beaded fringe, and it reflects the light like the ocean does. Well, I hope you found this video helpful. If you would like to get ideas on how to embellish a table runner, by the way, which is my favorite part, I love playing with all those little objects to put on things. You're going to want to watch my video, how to embellish a table runner. You don't want to miss that one. Now, to keep informed on all my sewing videos, click on subscribe, that red button down there at the bottom of your screen. I'm Cheryl. I'm really glad you came to my sewing room. See you next time, and happy sewing!